Getting engaged is like is the first hill of the roller coaster, and you hear those clicking, that loud sound. It's really violent metal, chunk, and you go, what's going on here? You know, boy, this thing really goes high. And then you go over the top. The wedding is at the top. You go over the top is the wedding, and then you're just screaming.
Even if you make plans, you never think you're really ready for marriage.
No, it's like any growth. You can't be ready for it because it's growth. It's going to be new. It's going to be new. You're going to have a new life. You're going to be a new person.
Okay, so what has been the biggest difference for you guys now that you are engaged? Do you feel like anything is different?
Actually, yeah. I mean, you want to be around each other a little bit more.
I'm gonna keep you.
Aww. So for you guys now, you're engaged officially. The big day. How did you come up with the date for the big day, and when is it, and what vision did you guys have?
You want me to answer? Well, Craig didn't know this, but I knew that whenever he proposed that I was going to be ready to be married soon, which was a shock because I've been the foot dragger.
Yes, I was really shocked because I wasn't expecting to get married till like next year because I know her, because but it was left up to me. I married like the next day. So I was shocked. So I was like, when she said we're gonna be married in 3 months, I was like, yes.
I knew that I would want to get married soon. With COVID, the COVID pandemic and all that type of stuff, I knew that it was going to be challenging trying to have any type of event anywhere, whether it's local or anywhere. So I decided that I wanted to go to the desert. I am really big on going to the desert, the Mojave Desert. I go to the area about at least 2 times a year nowadays, but sometimes it was once a year. So I've been about 17 times, and when I go, I'm always going to the desert. It's in the Vegas area, but it's just the same thing. I want to see the Grand Canyon. I want to see the Valley of Fire. I want to see Red Rock Canyon. I want to drive through the Mojave Desert. It's just for me, it is where I find. But to kind of add more to the conversation, it was this. Craig and I have been reading the Bible together this year with Daily Audio Bible. One of his favorite characters in the Bible is
Moses.
And why? Why is Moses?
I like Moses because he had a problem with speaking, and he delivered the children from Israel, and
the children of Israel from Egypt.
Yeah, from Egypt. So that story inspired me.
The character of Moses is pretty major to him, and it became major to me in the very beginning of our relationship. I think I told you. Yeah, like in the very beginning, it was the reconciling what I'm used to what I need versus what I thought I wanted to what I needed. And there's this poem by Genetics that I love, about waiting. And one part of the poem, she says, your ability to lead will be like Moses, meaning you'll lead humble, with humility, with peace. It was this quiet strength that somehow, some way gets millions of people out of Egypt and into the desert. And then you ain't just get them out, you led them when they was there. He doesn't have to be loud to lead me. He ain't got to be out there beating his chest for me to follow him. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of this, wow, your ability to lead will remind me of Moses. Meaning submitting to that. versus submitting to the loud or aggressive or I'm in charge, I am Negro, hear me roar, which is fine, nothing against that if anybody is that. But I think for me, this is what I needed and I didn't know I needed. So that is what it is about Moses and the desert. And so when you bring it all together, Moses led the children of Israel through the desert for 40 years. So we have spent 40 years in the desert of dating, doing it all wrong. Dating outside of God's will, having a lot of fun in the flesh. 40 years in the desert. We're going to keep going in circles until you get this. And it wasn't until we met that we were able to come together and say, we about to do this God's way because we sick of being in the desert. I think I'm tired.
Crazy, you know? Years ago, I was saying, I'm probably not going to get married until I'm in my 40s. That's the crazy part about it.
It's like you knew.
See, years ago I said that.
For us, so we had to find a new way. And instead of us creating our own way, we decided, let's just go to what's real and what's true in the Word. So I feel like that 40 years in the desert, kind of like the children of Israel, beating the slave mentality out of them. Like, until you follow me, until you get this, then Joshua could take you into the promised land. So going to the desert is kind of a celebration of the fact that we're coming out of the desert. And we're doing it God's way. So we're going to go into the promised land, take vows in an area where I found peace, but also where, Moses, that whole experience is kind of being celebrated and honored.
What are you looking forward to on that day and beyond?
I'm be with her for the rest of my life. Just knowing, we can share life together, travel the world together.
Yes! I'm looking forward to that moment when I get to come down the aisle or walk down towards him, and my sisters will be up there wearing their fire. That's another thing. The dress that I wore for the engagement shoot and some of the fabric that my sisters will be wearing is fire, because we're in the Valley of Fire. And you think about the burning bush, right? When when Moses got his call from God from the burning bush. So it's something about fire and the desert and all this type of stuff that I feel like bringing into because our relationship has been about walking with God the whole time. I mean, since day one, it's been like, well, what does God say? So to not incorporate that into the wedding when we say vows would be, I feel like, misplaced. Forward to that moment. Because I think when I walk down the aisle this time, it's going to be with a sureness that God is rolling with me, as opposed to I'm rolling on my own program and then I just want God to get in line with it.
105 is the number that comes to my head when I think of all the years I want to be with you. Wake up every morning with you in my bed. That's precisely what I plan to do.